Hi everyone, and welcome to Monday Night Stamping. It's a place where we connect, chat, and also have some creative fun. My name is Lillian from Stamper's Niche, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator coming to you from Alberta, Canada. We had a little excitement just as we were about to video tonight. I went to lower the blinds in our room here, and just as I pulled the blinds to lower them, they came crashing down and the window trim came crashing down, and there was stuff flying everywhere. And of course, I had just cleaned my room today and dusted. So I had Harry come and rescue me and get the blinds and all of that out. And it feels really weird tonight because I have a big black space over there instead of the white blinds. But anyway, that was the way we started off tonight. So hopefully tonight's video goes a little better than that. So, and I forgot, I had a question I was going to ask you, and I totally forgot what it was in all the excitement. So tell me, do you make Valentine cards, or do you make cards for other love occasions like anniversaries, weddings, that kind of thing? And have you been working on any lately? So what has been your go-to stamp set or dies or punch as you work on love-related projects? Okay, you can let us know that in the comments as I get things set up here. And so glad to see people saying hi and saying where they're from and greeting each other. That is absolutely super. That's what this is all about. I love how you make connections. All righty. Okay, so big breath and get my brain in gear here and not on all the stuff falling down around me. Let's just talk for a moment about this. Tonight I am going to be using the designer paper I shared with you. So the designer paper is from Sale-A-Bration, and it is found on page, just trying to find places to put stuff here. It's found on page 11 in Sale-A-Bration. So it's this paper here, and we're going to use that. Now, when you look at it, you might think tools, Father's Day, birthdays, that kind of thing. We're making a Valentine's Day card with this paper, but we're adding something extra to it. But just while we're here, look at how they've used this paper here. So this paper is actually, and I only have a little bit left, is actually a big 12 by 12 sheet. And what they've done is cut little slits in it to make it into a tool chest. Isn't that neat? So just wanted to point that out. Now, so let me just, in fact, why don't I share with you the paper? And again, I have bits and pieces here. So the paper that I just showed you, this is one of them, and this is the back. It all comes in 12 by 12. So you're going to have to think of that. Then there's this. So these are little crisscross hammers there. And then we've got the nuts and bolts here on this side. And then we've got the measuring, like a ruler on this side, and then the pegboard type of design here, or polka dots. So the back side doesn't necessarily have to be with tools. This side here is one of the sheets that you can actually, as you can see, use your die to cut things out. So the dies match up with quite a few of these things, and the others are really easy to cut out by hand. And the lighter colors, you can even stamp. Can you imagine stamping on this? I think that would be really great. And I have been using even the ones on the edges, because when you tuck them behind something or along the edge on the inside, the edge pieces just work beautifully. And then on the back, we have this really generic, and the design is partially coming from this side, but it's a great generic side there. And here we just have repeated designs of screwdrivers. So you could cut them out or just use them on the background. And then on this side, it's just a nice, again, a very generic design. And when you fold that back, wouldn't that make some great cards with this part folded back. You could use both sides beautifully. Okay, so then we've got this one, another one that you can cut out the pieces or use as is. And again, this saw is great for stamping on right there. And then on this side, it's great grid paper. So you've got fabulous designer paper here. I'm just going to put that out of the way. And it goes together just like peanut butter and jelly with this stamp set here on page 56 in the mini catalog. This one here. Now both items, both the paper and this can stand alone. They're not necessary to have them together, but boy, do they work well together. And I think if you have one, you would want the other. All right, so I'm just going to put this to the side, and I'm going to share with you my Get Acquainted sheet for this. And then there are the dies that cut out quite a few. So you can get the stamp set, you can get the dies, or you can get the bundle and save 10%. Plus, the bundle would earn you a free Sale-A-Bration set or item, and you could get this. I'm just saying you could get this by just buying this bundle, if you were interested. All right, so here, well, I'll bring in the bundle first. So here's the great, you just got the paper, Karen? Oh, you're going to love it. You're going to have so much fun with it. I have been having a fabulous time with it. So here's the stamp set, and you might say, what are some of these things? So this is actually, you could color if you stamp over top, so it's like two-step stamping. You stamp this, and then you stamp this in another color over top, and then you have a colored handle. And this here, you stamp here, it lines up with the bottom of the paintbrush, and you have a little bit of colored paint, so whatever colored paint you want. So the same with these. I'm going to show those in a minute. And then we have all of these dies. So great pegboard die. We've got this handle. Oh, we've got all sorts of things. And this one we're going to use tonight. So I'm going to keep it out. And so I'm just going to bring you in my Get Acquainted sheet. And it actually is sheets because there's so much you can do with this. So here you can see I stamped the hammer, and that looks great like it is. Or I can stamp the hammer and add this and end up with this. And I just stuck with red just so it would be uniform. And the same with the wrench. And so then you can add this and end up with that, and then you can just color, or you can just leave it, whichever you want. Same with the paintbrush, and this is what you end up with. The tape measure, like that. The pencil, you add this, and you've got it colored. And then these are the ones that match up with dies. So there are other stamps like these little ones here. I've used them a lot for little embellishments or little decoration on the inside and all kinds of things. Thank you. You're the most awesome. And then these work more for Father's Day, but you could actually, you know, cut it apart and just happy day, or put another word in here if you want. So you can play around with that. So that's the stamps. You can see there's tons and tons of potential with the stamps. Here are the dies. So it took me a while for some of them to figure them out. So I did pretty well on most. Like this is the tool chest, this is the handle, the hammer, and this, you can kind of layer that kind of thing, these layer on here. This one took me, I had to go look at my husband's pliers to see, to see how that went. This goes with the paintbrush, you know, all these different kinds of things here. This one we're going to play with tonight, so I'm not going to talk about, and then we've got this little drill here. So tons of things you can do with it. Plus, if you are into what we call punch art, or some of these, like this could look like antenna, you know, or if you remember the old thing, look at it from other angles and you might see different things. These could be legs. That looks like bowed cowboy legs to me right there. These could be robot arms. You know, you can play with that all you want. So there's the stamps. Here's the dies. But I wanted to show you how these extra little pieces, work. And so I saw on stage at our Stampin' Up! Convention, somebody shared this as well. So we just stuck with the silver, black, and red. But you can see here how you can add the pieces to get even a more realistic. And you could even do some embossing on there or whatever. This was the one I wasn't sure how to put together, but that's what I decided worked. So you can see you can have all kinds of fun with this. Now, did anybody guess what stamp set I am putting together with that designer paper? What were some of your guesses there? If you guessed this, you're not correct tonight. We're going to use this on the inside, but other than that, you're not correct. So jot down what stamp set you think I am going to be using, just while I put that down. And while I bring this in, so I just wanted to show you, these are some of the items that were cut out of the designer paper. So if you didn't want to stamp, all you had is the paper, you could sit down, watch a TV program, cut some of these things out, and you would be able to do cards right there and then. And one of my downline did just that. So she cut out these from the designer paper and made the card just with the designer paper. And she went and got some things from somewhere else for that. So just that is a good thing to remember and to take note of. So I am not seeing any guesses as to what stamp set I'm using tonight. So we're going to get started and then we'll see if it's a surprise or not. Okay, I'm going to put this to the side. And as many of you know, once every month or 2 months, I make cards with some brand new stampers. They're in a 55+ community, and so this is a card that I made with them, and I just loved it so much I had to share it with you. So I think I'm actually going to show you the card. So here are the words, and we're going to do something different here. So does this give anybody a hint as to what stamp set I used? You jot it down if you think you know. And this is actually a fun fold, and it came together really quickly and easily. And we're going to actually do the paper piercing on here, but I'm going to show you as well what it looks like colored. All right. Okay, so there's the card. Still no guesses for the stamp set. Oh, we will see. So we're going to start, the first piece of paper we're going to start with is a 4 1/4 by 11 piece of cardstock, basic black cardstock. And it is scored at 5 1/2. And, ooh, I forgot to measure that one. I'll just use my measuring on my glass mat here. 5 1/2 and 8 1/4. So when I have a piece like this, and what I told the ladies is fold it in half first, and then put the other score line on top. Take this and fold it back, and make sure all your edges line up, and then make sure to burnish those folds with your bone folder. And so you basically have a Z fold card, right? It's just like that. And then we're going to bring in a piece of basic black. And what we have done with this piece of basic black is run it through the metal plate embossing folder. This is the 3D embossing folder that's in the annual catalog, and it works perfectly with this set, I think. So, and you can use either side as far as I'm concerned. So this is the side, the embossed side, it's raised up, but the debossed side is really neat too, just like that. So should I use the debossed side or the embossed side? Debossed, embossed. But just put D or E if you want. Debossed, embossed. What do you think? Embossed. It's the first one I saw. Okay, perfect. So we're going to use the embossed side, and we're going to, do you know what? I put that designer paper away, and I need this because it's the very last piece I have of this, and it's for this card. So what we're going to do, this is cut at 2 inches by 5.5. And I know it's way bigger than this, but we're not going straight across. We're actually going at an angle. And it doesn't really matter how you angle it. Just angle it. You can go point to point if you want. I'm going to just do it down a little bit like that. Okay, so we'll bring in our liquid glue. I'm not going to, let me just think here. I had it in my head. Okay, so it's going to be this one. So it's opposite corners, but don't put any there. Or if you do, you're just going to have sticky fingers and scissors. That's not a big deal. Alrighty. So I've got the embossed side looking up at us, and I'm going to go, about like that. I should have my silicone mat here in case some glue gets on there. Mind you, it just wipes off of here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over and trim that off, and I'm actually going to save those pieces. And you can always adjust your measurements, but this seemed to work pretty well. So we're cutting this off using the edge of our paper as our guide, like that. We'll put that to the side, and now we're going to mount that on the, I'm blanking out tonight, crushed curry. So I just took my colors right from the designer paper. I'll put my glue on here, like that. And this is one of the narrow border ones. So just like that, and now we're ready to adhere it here. And when it's folded, if you just give yourself the equal border, then you're all set to go. It looks like just a flat card. It's when you open it that you see the fun fold. So you can do one of two things. You can glue it flat, or you can put it on dimensionals. This one was glued flat because I thought the ladies could handle that more easily. So why don't we put this one on dimensionals and see how it goes? And I'm going to bring in my basic black dimensionals. How many of you use basic black dimensionals? I really like them. I sometimes forget to use them. One of the things I like about them is that in a package, you get both minis and regular. So you get both in one package. So the little mini ones and the regular ones. So how many of you are fans of black dimensionals, or have you even used them? And taking the backings off, and we're going to just center this like that. And we have the basics for our card. We're going to just do a little bit more. So for the inside, I made sure my liner was a little bit smaller. And then I thought, well, how could I decorate the inside? And how could the ladies decorate the inside? So here are a couple of options. One option is to take the paper that you cut off and just put it in the corner like that. And that's not a point at that end. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of surgery here. Normally I would try to use a paper cutter, and we can do that, or we could put it up here, or we could do both. The other thing we can do is we can bring in a stamp set, and we're going to bring in the little tape measure and just ink it up and stamp it down here. And there's a reason why I use this particular stamp, and I'll share that with you. So, I'm going to stick this down. I think It's just fun. There we go, like that. And then if you wanted to, this just popped into my head right now, you could always add this last piece onto the back and then put your initials on there or something like that. That's always a possibility. So now we're going to put this on the inside of the card, and the inside's going to be done. So remember, just use a tiny bead on basic white or use your seal. Otherwise, it can look a little bit yucky. Now, this is centered here, so I know that I'm pretty safe just to center it here. So we'll put it on like that. And when I close it up, it's all good. So now all we need to do is decorate the front. So I'm going to move this out of the way. And on this card here, I used from, a Nested Essentials, I think it's called, for this, because I thought it was easier for the ladies to use. But I want to show you another way. So one of the dies is this one here, and it cuts this. So it looks a bit like a tool chest. It can be a sign, it can be all kinds of things. But one of the other things we learned is you can actually make it smaller and make a label with it. And so we are going to make a label with it. So it's going to look like this, and then, well, and it's going to go on, pardon me, this here. So that's how we're going to change up the words here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. It's a neat way to extend the use of your dies. So let's just, here's my scrap paper. And I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine here. Put the lid on that. And I'm going to put my paper down. I'm going to put my die down, and this is like a rectangle die, so I like to put it at a little bit of an angle so it goes in. And now when I put my top plate on, I'm going to slide it in, and I'm going to, let me just see if I can show it to you here. I'm going to put it straight. It'll be easier to show it to you. I'm going to make sure that my plate doesn't go beyond here. I don't want this to cut. So if my plate isn't on top of there, my top plate, it won't cut this. So I'm only going to be cutting this part. This is how you make a partial die cut. So that's what we're going to do. So it looks really funny because this is all hanging over, but that's the way I have planned it. And we're going to run that through. I was going to use my mini so that this wasn't such a big machine on here, but in order to do a partial die cut, I had to go through this way, and it was just a tight fit. So I thought, this is easier. Who's having cheesies? That's one of my favorite snacks. I just see the word. Excellent. So now we have a partial die cut here. All right. Now we're going to take our die, because we only want 3 holes. We're going to take it. I'm going to bring this up here. And we're going to, first of all, we're going to clean out those little, see how there's paper stuck right here? I can see it if you can't. I'm going to make sure that's, just because it makes it a little bit easier. So now that's all nice and clean, I'm going to bring this in, and I am going to slide this around, and you will feel it lock in there. But I'm making it much narrower. Do you see how that goes? So I've taken it, instead of having it that big, I've only cut part of it, and now I'm going to slide this down. And I happen to know, because I've made lots of these, I just want 3 of the holes. So there, we're going to put it back down. Might be wise to use something to hold it in place. I'm just using some washi tape that I have sitting on my machine, and we're going to run it through again. And this time doesn't matter, the plate can cover the whole thing. So we're going like this. Move this out of the way. And now we have this narrow little one versus the wide one. See, like that. So there is another way of using your dies to experiment and see if you do a partial die cut or something like that. How can you do it? How would it work for you? So now I am taking the You Are Loved Beyond Measure. Has anybody guessed yet what stamp set that's from? It's from the Perennial Postage stamp set. This stamp set has so many excellent words in it. This is fast becoming my go-to set for words. It's really great. And you can, cut the words apart or only ink part of the words. I've done like this one here. I've inked up Yours Simply and then put Marvelous on the inside. There's all different kinds of things you can do. So we're going to ink this up with the black. And get that done. And it just fits, but it's just too perfect with the ruler and the measuring tape. And now when you are using a long stamp like this, do you see how my fingers are going over the image part? That's just to make sure, because sometimes I put too much pressure on the edges and I don't get the pressure in the middle. So there we go. And so this is going to go on our card on dimensionals. Bring those dimensionals back in. I love how this is Poppy Parade, and it's actually one of my favorite reds, and it just pops on here. Now I'm going to rest it. The reason I'm resting it is I want to make sure this is going to fit, that I've got given enough room. Might be putting it over this way just a smidge more. Let's see. There we go. That'll work right there. And it's up to you now if you put this on dimensionals or not. I chose to just stick it down. Now I didn't want glue on the ends, so I just put some across the middle here. Like that. And center it. There we go. Now all we're missing is the measuring tape. So for the measuring tape, you can do a few things. You can cut it out of the designer paper like that. You can stamp it, and I wanted to show you how easy it is to stamp, and I decided to do a pink one. So I've got one started for you here, and I am going to bring in bubble bath, so just something totally different. And ink this up, and this is the joy of two-step stamping, which Stampin' Up! Was really the pioneer of two-step stamping. And you go down and up, and you've got it colored in like that. And then you can do a little bit more coloring if you want, or you can leave it. It's totally up to you. So that's when I was doing this here. That's the two-step stamping. So this goes on to here, and you've got that. And so you can see that's how I did the measuring tape, this, like that. So we've you can do it that way. You can cut it out of paper, or you can do what we're going to do tonight. So this is what I did with the ladies, because they haven't used a Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine yet. And so I cut out for them. I cut the die. I cut this. And then we've got the pieces that go on it. So we've got this piece that's going to go on here, this piece that's going to go on here, and this piece that's going to go on there. So it comes together beautifully. By the way, I introduced them to the putty end of the Take Your Pick tool. They fell in love with it. They were all saying, "Ooh, I need one of those for at home." They loved it. So how many of you love the putty end of the Take Your Pick tool? I love all of the attachments, but it's one of my most used parts of the Take Your Pick tool, that's for sure. Okay. The other, I use these two ends the most, but I like the other ones too. I use them all. And put that in the middle and that right there. And we've suddenly got a really neat tape measure. And I don't know if you can see, but it's even embossed. And here, this die here, whoops, even has the stitch lines, little slits for the stitch lines like that. I just love how our tools have all of our, pardon me, I'm reading comments and I see my mom is phoning and I'm being distracted a little bit. I love how our dies do so much anymore. So we're going to put this on here just to finish it off. So we'll bring in our dimensionals again. I'm just going to be a bit strategic with my dimensionals. Let me see. Maybe a mini one on the measuring part. And then I'm going to look from this side, make sure it doesn't show. It does kind of show. Let's see if I put it on the end. Yep. I'm going to give it a little cut. So when I cut my dimensionals, I always leave it on the backing because then my scissors don't get so sticky. So there. Now I've got a little tiny piece of dimensional, but it'll just give a bit of support for this part here. There we go. So it's always good to check from the front before you stick it down and make sure your dimensionals aren't showing. So you can just pop it down wherever you like, just like that. Ooh, I just love this card. And there's one more thing. We have these great cork rounds. And they come in 2 sizes, and I have been using them on everything. But they look really good with this, all of this stuff, the tool stuff. And I was at an event called Creative Carnival, and actually I think that's enough. I'll leave it like that. They actually showed us you can color these with your blends. The only thing I found was that it stayed wet for a while because they're cork. So don't stick your fingers in it if you're right away and if you're coloring with your blends. So there you have it, everyone. There is your Z fold with the Trusty Tools. So using the Trusty Tools to make a Valentine or a love you or a birthday card or whatever. But these words go with this so perfectly that I just had to do it. So, and I hope that you start playing with your dies a little bit and enjoy that aspect of it too. Now, because this paper is free, we might as well have a matching envelope, right? So I'm going to tuck this in so my glue doesn't soak through. And just put some adhesive on the envelope flap. And like I said, I don't have any more of that ruler paper because I was using it with the ladies at the clubhouse. But I have this and it sort of goes with it. So we'll do this. And I actually, one of my downline taught me this trick and I just love it. If you don't stick it down too fast. I'm using the ridge of the paper trimmer. I'm lining up the envelope and lining up the paper, sort of butting them right up to the ridge, and then everything gets lined up pretty nicely, especially if you haven't stuck it down already. And then you just trim the excess off, and you make it even more special because you have a matching envelope. The other thing is you could have used the embossing folder on the envelope. and giving it texture. So there we have it. There is our card. Now I have a few more made with this, but before I show those to you, I just want to point out a few things. Number one, I still am loving my glass mat. Number two, this little tray thingy that comes with it, you can mix your paint in it, you can do all kinds of things, but it works great for sorting little pieces as well. So there's another little use for that. And I'm going to tuck that out of the way now and bring in the other projects. But before I do, I just wanted to remind you that as of February 1st, Stampin' Up! Released some more Sale-A-Bration items. So some of these you can find you could have found in the annual catalog or in the online exclusives, but they're offering them for free during Sale-A-Bration, or you can earn them, I guess I should say. So there are 8 $60 ones, and then 2 that if you spend $120, you could earn these. Look at these markers. These are these new core colors, and they're the new markers. So they are really, really neat. I love them. The writing end, or the fine end, is like this, and the brush end is like that. And it's just, let me see, where's an old one that I have? The lids are slightly different in that the new ones are a little shorter, so I think that gives more ink room. The pens themselves are the same length. So if you haven't got any of the new pens, this would be a perfect way to get some and see what they're like. Some gorgeous stamp sets, some fabulous paper. This paper here has 48 sheets, so that's pretty amazing. Now, just a heads up, if you are choosing one of these for a Sale-A-Bration item, make sure you use the code that you see here or that you see on my website under Sale-A-Bration. Even though these can be found in the catalog or online exclusives, they have a different number. So make sure you use the Sale-A-Bration number for that. All righty. So some more projects made with this designer paper and with this this whole collection, I guess I should say. Here it's very simple. They've used the pegboard die and just taken the hammer from the paper, and then they fussy cut around the stamp set. And the paper we used for the envelope flap, they used here. So there's that one. This one here, it's a great one. And then the HB is from that mini alphabet set. That is also a fabulous, well, that mini catalog is just dangerous. There's just so many fabulous things in it. And here's one that I made with my downline. So we have this same embossing folder that we used tonight. And we used the words, "You're most awesome." And then, of course, we used the holographic paper for this tool here. And then it opens up, and we did it like that. So that's another idea. And then that die that we used tonight to cut out this shape here, only a little smaller. I guess I should bring that in. This shape here. That die isn't just for tool chests. Here, I used it with that gorgeous new floral 3D embossing folder, and I just ran them through like that. So it's got 3 of these. And then again, these words are from the Perennial Postage, and just a bit of that ribbon, that's my favorite too. So there you can see a very feminine version using this. So this is actually a great label to use on a lot of things. And then late this afternoon, so this is an unfinished project. It's a project that I am working on. I took that label that we're talking about in Bubble Bath, and I took the handle, and then I made a little box, and then I did the label and handle here. And I'm envisioning this for Easter, like a little ribbon to tie it together, put some treats in here for Easter, or just a little spring hello. You could put some flowers on here. I don't know exactly where I'm going to go. And in fact, if you have some ideas, you can share them with me. But I think there's tons of potential. And after I got this put together, I realized I could have embossed this, dry embossed this so it looked like wood or something. I don't know. I'm playing around and having fun. Those are just some ways to think about how to use your designer paper and that wonderful Trusty Tools stamp set. And here's what we made tonight. And then this is the one I made with the ladies the other night. So thank you so much. Valentine's cinnamon heart. Ooh, yeah. That would work well in here. I could stick with a Valentine color, bunny on the side for Easter. Ooh, I'm not going to say goodbye yet. I like all these ideas coming in. Yeah, that would be great. Little Easter eggs in here, the mini eggs or the foil wrapped chocolate eggs. Ooh, yeah. They'd be awfully tempting to eat, I'd have to admit. But yes, tons of ideas. Or you could make, I think one of you was it Marie? Somebody was saying that all your tools are pink. You could put a bunch of pink tools in here, right? Here, I've got the beginnings of one. So there you go. All tools do not have to be this color, but that I was working with the designer paper. I wanted to show that you could take it another direction. Oh, one more thing I was going to show you. I was playing with the paintbrushes, Lindt chocolates. Ooh, Sharon, yes. And look at all the different colors here that I made with the paintbrushes. And when you cut out the paintbrush, I can't get these apart. When you cut out the paintbrushes, it actually cuts out the little hole. I don't know, can you see there? There's a hole there. So you could string these together if you wanted, or something like that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these, but I sure had fun making these. So I'll think of something. Okay. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me. And let me know if you've got this bundle and if you've been doing any playing. In fact, even share pictures of what you've been making. That would be great. Take care, everybody, and bye-bye.